Hi everybody. I am doing a YouTube live. I tried for Facebook, didn't work. I am doing a video on willow trees and iron properties. The properties in which both of these items are very magical in protection, as well as keeping you acknowledged on things and how to use them to your advantage. So I will wait for a few people to get on, because this is really more of an educational purpose. Saturday will be the Q&A with me around 8 p.m. I believe I put. So in this matter of willow trees are very willow trees are connected to sadness, death, also rebirth, and it's called the immortality tree. It can also regrow itself. So they use willow trees in the cemeteries as a form of rebirth. Weeping willows, we weep when someone cries, we're sad. It represents death, but it also represents purification and rebirth. So that's why that's what a lot of people don't understand about the willow tree. It's also used in protection. It's also used it's also spoke of in many religions and many different diverse groups through the years. It's what we call an ancestral tree. It's magical because it's spoke of in a female way. We give life, we rebirth. So that's why they call that the immortality tree. It's said that when you use a willow tree to contact the deceased, you can sit around a willow tree underneath it, and you can place yourself in protective barrier in case you want that connection with a deceased loved one or just the deceased itself. The willow tree is definitely connected to a long history of acknowledgement in that the willow tree itself is a very magical tree. It's extremely highly regarded by the Celts, the practice they use the willow tree in. The willow tree to them is just it induces premonitions. It also helps protect you against evil, in so many words, negative entities. Let me see here. If you look up the history in Native American, their hodans, they are the houses where they sit and where they do their healing, and they do readings as such. They take willow trees, they take the branch of willow trees, and they place it on each direction of the hodan, and they place ancestral tobacco on each one as an offering to the spirit world to send away the negative spirits and bring in good spirits. Now you can also ingest willow bark as a tea. You can make it as a tea, but as I always tell people, never ingest anything. Considering the universe is turned out the way it is, you don't want to do anything. You're on medication. It's good to do your own herbals, but it's also not good to just do it because someone tells you to. And for me, when I did all my research on willows, it says that you can use it to burn an incense. I would rather burn it than ingest it. You can use willow trees or willow bark in charms. You can make wands out of it for magical practices. The Celts used it in making instruments. They used it in practically a lot of their usage in their daily life because it was so magically. They believed that because it was so protective, that everything that they would do would be protected. When you ingest it, it is said to help you with astral travel. It is said to help with premonition of dreams. But like I said, do not ingest anything at all. This is my one thing on here that I disclaimer that I would tell you never to ingest anything. You can use it to promote energy and bring back good spirits. You can use it in healing spells and cleansing spells. This tree, when I looked at how much history Willow, I don't really work with trees, but the element of energy with them, I have an affinity with them. I can walk up and touch one and I can tell if one's female or male by their energy that they carry. I do use their bark in magical practices, but only certain ones. And willow trees is a tree that, you know, I noticed in a lot of cemeteries. And willow bark I would only use for medicinal purposes, like burning for certain, you know, rituals. I never ingest anything. This tree dates back as far as biblical texts in the Bible. It goes far as the Greeks, the Jewish. This speaks about a lot of different things that the willow tree was used for. So, as I said, this tree dates back to far as biblical texts. I'll start there. Ancient Egypt, 2nd millennium BC. It spoke as it was an anti-inflammatory. Excuse me, I have trouble trying to keep my accent in, so certain words I keep to myself and try to pronounce them. I'm sorry. It spoke as, you know, the anti-inflammatory and relieving pain. Willow was considered to be a female divinity due to its rebirth capabilities. Cemetery used these for a symbol of sadness, death, and rebirth. Also protection. Willow is a very highly protective tree. The ancient Greece identified this tree as a connection with the underworld, the afterworld is what they called it. Jewish believed that the trees used to worship due to its water relation. Each tree is connected to a earth symbol. Willow trees are connected to the water symbol, to female divinity. We are rebirth. We are flowing. So that's the connection to that. In Christianity, the weeping willow took the meaning of purification and chastity. According to Christian legend, Jesus fell numerous times on the way to, excuse me, I can't say this word, Golgotha. Excuse me, if I messed that up, I deeply apologize. He would keep grasping onto the branches as he walked all the way. And he used this tree many times to lift himself up. Like I said, Native Americans use this tree in hodans, which are their healing houses where they do all their healing practices. And in ceremonials, they will take the tobacco and place it on the four corners of each and give it to an honorable to the spirits. So it's it's a very blessed tree. That tree in itself is very beautiful. Iron. Iron is in its rarest, purest form an actual meteorite. why did they have iron gates around a cemetery? Well, let's think of first, before we get all magical and technical. It was 1, to keep grave robbers out. 2, to keep the animals from digging up any freshly buried deceased people. So those are the 2 main things, period. It's used it's used for more of towards defensive magic. You can use it to protect yourself. Iron has a more stories to this, and why it is very it is used in many things in the spiritual practice. Iron also stops negativity. It also stops psychic flow. So if someone's giving you, say if someone's giving you more or less a psychic attack, iron stops that. It stops the flow of psychic attacks. It is also using for healing emotions. If iron is inscribed with the planet Mars, we all know what Mars means. For protection and defensive magic, evasion, for if you're going to use just your thought process, you can also, when you're around that person that gives you a deep sense of oddness or bad feeling and you've never met them, place and envision iron gates around you so that their energy cannot come near your energy. Iron is used, again, in defense, to also the fairies. If you ever see people with wind chimes in their backyard, but they're iron, they're usually, the energy of the fae is there on the land, and the iron keeps the fae away. It's also used to keep demons at bay. India, iron is believed to repel negative spirits, fae, jinn, and more. So cold iron is said to repel harmful energies, fairies, witches, and other supernatural entities. It is said if nailing an iron horseshoe on a door was said to repel negative energies and bring luck. That's why till this day a horseshoe is always turned up this way, because that is the way you do it for good luck. If you do it down bad, you attract bad luck to your business. Surrounding cemeteries with iron fence is to contain the dead souls and keep them at bay. Not everybody, iron to me does not keep in natural spirits. So if you have a land spirit that is not a very nice person or a nice energy, the iron keeps them at bay. If you have a negative energy, such as, say, you were evil in life, you're also evil in the after. So those type of spirits are bound by iron. Iron, it dates back so far that it literally is just one of the top things that most people use in spirituality. But the problem is now people are seeking out other precious metals that are very highly protective. Because, as you know, iron is getting harder and harder and harder to get. So here are a few things that I wrote down, which to me, this is not true, because iron is used in defensive magic against a witch. Burying an iron knife under the entrance of your home will allegedly keep a witch from crossing its barriers. That, for me, when I did the research on that, I don't think that that's possible, because I practice, and I think it's more or less for a dark magic, not just per se a witch that is a normal doing so everyday kind of practice. This is for a very bad magic, I believe. The tradition of the lucky horseshoe is a story which I found very interesting. The story of Saint Dunstan and the devil. Dunstan, who became Archbishop of Canterbury is in AD 959, was a blacksmith by trade, and he became Archbishop. The story relates that he once nailed a horseshoe on the devil's hoof. When he was asked to reshoe the devil's horse, this caused him great pain, and it seemed to have hurt him. So they used this type of relic, this type of iron horseshoe, to recreate a formality of almost as if iron can be almost the darkest energy. And as a promise, he agreed to undo the horseshoe if he never entered a home with iron built around or a horseshoe on top of the building. And that, I thought, was just, you know, I'm all for paranormal and I'm all for, you know, what I do. But there are some things that kind of sound foolish once you look it up and realize it's more or less saying iron is a protective metal against negativity. There's plenty of ways that you can protect your land. You can get a pure form of iron and you can let it sit out in the full moon cycle and a full, you can let it sit out in a full, more or less, a 3-day cycle of the sun, a 3-day cycle of the moon. And when doing so, you're like blessing it. You're blessing it from the sun and you're blessing it from the moon. And you're going to say a certain prayer over that, whatever means the deepest to you, wherever you feel it the most, and you're going to pour it around the 4 walls of your property. And that seems to keep stuff at bay and not being able to cross into your land as well. But this is the end of my live. I'm noticing I can't see any comments, so I'm assuming that once again, this kind of thing is not working. So, but everybody, thank you for watching, and I will see if I can fix it and see what's going on. Okay? Bye-bye.